And we are live. Welcome back, or welcome to, if you're new to join us, the Geek Boutique podcast brought to you by the Cosplay Alliance and the Geeks and Company. We're already getting some action over on Instagram. I apologize for the delay in going live. I know we're a couple of minutes late. We did have some issues with the technology, as we tend to do. Exactly. You can see there on screen Deadpool. And we're going to get into what we're going to talk about today, obviously. But first of all, you will notice, conspicuous by his absence, Mr. J.S. Belanger is not with us today. He is feeling rather poorly, so he will not be joining us. So if you could all send your best wishes to J.S., thoughts and prayers, universal energy, whatever works for you, go ahead and send that off to
Mutant
JS.
Healing Factor. Send some over
Healing
to
Factor. Anything that you think is going to work out, that's going to be great. But I would never come before you guys alone, because who would watch me ramble on for an hour? So I am joined by a couple of folks here today. First up, he is the con godfather. He's got more cosplays than anybody I know. He's been doing it longer than anybody I know. He is my brother. He is my friend. Snowhawk Cosplay. Ed, how are you today, sir?
I'm good. I'm feeling very Ryan Reynolds-y today.
You are looking very Ryan Reynolds-y today, and I don't know how long you're gonna sit there holding the headphones up, but I'm hoping it's a long
time. Wouldn't this be a very Deadpool thing to do? Just sit there and hold the headphones?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
As everyone saw, I have a beer, and I can't drink a beer in this, so I think I'm just going to take this off, but I just wanted to show everyone I can represent Deadpool today.
Commitment. Also joining us, she's a maker, she's a model, she is an entrepreneur. She's a friend of the podcast. She's helped us out a million times. That Valkyrie girl, Megan, how are you today?
I am good. How are you guys doing?
First, we all got to watch us struggle with technology. Now we can all watch a middle-aged white man struggle with getting a mask off. Hey! There we go.
Oh my
God,
that hurts so much.
And just to keep up with the theme, in case you weren't sure what we were talking about, not only do we have Deadpool, but we've also got some Wolverine claws going as well. Yes, I know typically on the podcast we will start with maybe kind of bandying around some stuff that's going on in current geek culture, but let's be fair, the current juicy news going on in the geek world is the announcement. Now, I don't want to say this is a spoiler. Obviously, the movie is 2 years out, but unless you live on Mars in a cave with your eyes shut and your fingers in your ears, I'm sure you guys have seen or at least been told that not only is there going to be a Deadpool 3, and not only is it going to take place in the MCU, but it's also going to bring back Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds, the master, if you will, of viral marketing. We are still 2 years out, and this motherfucker is already starting to put together hype for this film.
Well,
so guys,
what he's doing.
No, it's fantastic. No, he is literally between Aviation Gin, Mint Mobile, Wrexham AFC. These are things that either I don't have access to, I'll never try, or I've never even heard of before, but now I have because of Ryan Reynolds. He is absolutely the master. But what I want from you guys right off the bat, your initial reactions. Did someone spoil this for you? Did you get to see it and then found out by watching it? Like, what were your initial reactions when you saw his announcement going into it?
I thought it was just Ryan Reynolds doing Ryan Reynolds-y things, just talking about Deadpool. I was like, okay, go ahead, talk about it. And then it was just like, hey, Hugh. And I was like, no. What? No, it can't be Hugh Jackman. And then it's like, you want to be in Deadpool? Sure. Like, I watched that reel like on Instagram like 10 times just to be like, I can't believe it. It makes sense though. Like, like if he can come back and do it one more time, why not?
Exactly.
Fair. We're going to get into some of the logistics out of it, but initial reactions, Megan, when you first saw it?
Oh, initial reaction. It ended up being in, I think, one of the cosplay group chats. And there was no caption. I think it was Alicia that sent it in and was just like, here, have this. I'm like, oh, okay, Deadpool stuff, Ryan Reynolds, same sort of reaction as Ed. And then I watched it. And then you see and I've got nothing. And then someone walks behind him and it's like, hey, Hugh. They're going to do it.
Yeah.
And then they did it.
And then they did it. Yeah. I got to say, that was pretty much my reaction too. So I am unabashedly a Reynolds fan, especially since the guy basically ate shit in Hollywood for years and years and years and seemed to have terrible movie after terrible movie after terrible movie, and it was Deadpool that basically saved and resurrected his career, and now he's one of the biggest guys in Hollywood and basically gets to do whatever he wants, and what he wants to do is Deadpool 3 as part of the MCU, and he manages to wrangle Hugh Jackman back. Now, I do remember Hugh Jackman talking about after doing Logan, or as it led up to Logan, and him saying something along the lines of, if I had a chance to get to do it in the MCU for the right story, that might lure me back.
And apparently it did now.
Clearly this is it. Now, have you guys, and you guys here too, feel free to weigh in on this on the chat, guys, whether you're on YouTube or you're on Instagram. Have you guys seen the follow-up video?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Okay, so there is a Deadpool 3 part Hugh where the two of them sit on a couch and they talk about how this is going to work. And as you would suspect, you don't really get any details. The only thing they confirm, of course, is that it does take place before Logan. Because, of course, spoiler alert, Logan dies. Wolverine dies in Logan.
What?
I know.
No.
They explain that takes place in 2029 and that this is taking place before that. So
okay, so are they saying that that's also within the same timeline though?
So here's the thing. That's all the information they give, and then they start to talk about the plot, and then they play Wham! Wake Me Up Before You Go over the dialogue. I have since watched a video where someone does the lip sync that like reads their lips, and they're still not talking about anything. That's still not.
Yeah, no, they're just talking to talk.
They're talking to talk. So what I want to know, we're going to get to the how in a second, but what I want to know, sort of getting into this, when we don't really know anything, we're 2 years out. Do you guys have like a do's and don'ts, or like a wants and absolutely don't wants that you want to see come out of this film? And in particular, when it comes to having Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman reunited, I guess you'd say.
Together again for the first time.
Well, I mean, in Deadpool 1, he had Hugh's cutout face on his thing. And then in Deadpool 2, of course, there's an archive shot from X-Men Origins Wolverine that has him in it. So, I mean, he's kind of been in it before, but do's and don'ts, or wants and don't wants. What do you guys absolutely have to have in this movie? And then what do you absolutely not want to see in this movie?
This probably isn't going to be helpful, but I'm just so psyched. Like, my only need to have is I just need Hugh Jackman, and clearly we're getting that. So, like, I'm 1,000% sold. I don't care what they do.
Well, Michael
It'll
says,
rip out my soul if they kill him again in this one, because I cried like a baby at the end of Logan. But
Michael says, you don't want to hear what I want. I have a fairly good idea what you want, sir. Ed, what do you think as far as do's and don'ts, or wants and don't wants?
Well, what I don't want is a Hugh Jackman showing up like is in First Class, where they show up and it's like, Logan, James Howlett, we have a job for you. Go yourself. Like, I don't want that. I mean, where Deadpool shows up and, hey, Wolverine, I got a job. Like, I'm reforming X-Force. Let's go on a mission, and be like, yeah, go yourself, Wade. Like, it's got to be a full movie. Like, it has to be a full movie.
If they're doing this announcement, I wouldn't think they'd have it as any less than, like, they had Cable in the last one. I would think it would be a similar amount of, like, side character.
Yeah. The other thing is how is it going to fit within the MCU?
We're going to get to the how. I want to discuss that in depth, because that's the sticky, right? Like, that's going to be tough.
If you're okay, well, if we get to the how, so basically, I want a full movie with Hugh Jackman. I want a full movie with Ryan Reynolds. Not just cameo of, hey, look, everyone, it's Logan. Yeah, he showed up.
Oxford Renfest is saying there's going to be all kinds of old man jokes and Canadian jokes. Of course, absolutely. I'm sure there's going to be poutine and denim and all kinds of good stuff. Want a pretty angry fight between the two. Yeah, obviously. I mean, I think that has to happen on some kind of. They both have healing factors, so that fight can only go on for so long, because they're just
the other thing I want them to explain. Okay, like, I love Wolverine Origins, so I want to explain Wolverine Origins to Deadpool. How are you going to get those to fit on top of each other? Ali
Cosplay is saying, I want mutants, and that's something else that we've got to I think address as well. My wants are very similar to yours guys' wants. I do want, I mean, obviously I would like to have Josh Brolin back as Cable, but I don't know that you would have that and Wolverine at the same time. That would seem to be a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Unless you do, and I agree with what Megan was saying. I don't think you have him in there as a cameo if you have the announcement like this, right? I think that's something that you could just jam in there for if he's going to be in it for 10 seconds, then you wouldn't do this. And I don't think if he's going to come back one more time, which, by the way, I'd like to point out, Ryan Reynolds said, do you want to play it one more time, not one last time? Yeah. Interesting choice of words there. I think it's important to understand, there's no reason to do all of this if he's going to be on screen for 10 seconds.
The other thing is, if Cable, I would prefer, instead of Cable coming back for Deadpool 3, give us X-Force 1.
Right. Yeah. If we're going to incorporate
Cable, Domino, and
yeah.
Even just grab the cast from New Mutants, because I love the New Mutants movie. That movie is really solid.
Doug wants the bed scene from Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Those aren't pillows. Yeah. Jam in, Michael. Shush. And same thing. Yeah, and I'm with you guys as well. What I don't want is either a glorified cameo or B, for this to be this has to be firmly staged in the MCU, right? I mean, I don't want it to be something I don't want it to be a one-off, and I'm concerned that it might be like a la they get pulled into the MCU, they do whatever they're going to do, and then they get bounced out again. Because Marvel, up until now, Disney Marvel has been pretty dicey when it comes to using the Fox established characters. We had the Abomination on WandaVision, that was Evan Peters' Quicksilver, which was not Evan Peters' Quicksilver.
Oh, come on. That was
not
great,
Evan. It was terrible. I thought it was pretty much a slap in the face to all of us Fox X-Men fans. But we're like, hey, this is a great cameo. It's like a multiverse Pietro. And I'm like, oh, it's not even that. It's just some creation of Agatha's that's even worse. I don't even know.
Well, it was Ralph Boner, but it was beautiful.
Awful.
Like, I loved it. Just the fact
Boner.
that the neighbor is Quicksilver in another multiverse.
Awful. And then we get, of course, Charles Xavier, played by Patrick Stewart, but clearly not the Fox movies Charles Xavier, some sort of a mishmash between that and the cartoon one. They've been pretty dicey. So I'm concerned about any other elements coming over from Deadpool, and if in fact we're going to stay there. Oxford Memphis is saying, I think for Hugh to do this much press already, it won't be a quick cameo. Yeah, basically echoing what we were saying already. So then the question of the day really does become, and where we're going to have to get into the meat and potatoes on this, is how do they do this? They've got 2 years to figure it out. From my understanding, the script is being written right now. They have a draft, so they're redoing the draft and such. What do you do? How do you make this work? Because we all know, if you've watched the Fox X-Men movies, the timeline over there, the continuity is a fucking nightmare. Like, it's just brutal. You're talking about how do you get from Origins to Deadpool? Yeah, I mean,
you don't.
Wade Wilson, played by the same actor, is in Origins, and he resembles nothing to the Wade Wilson by the same actor that we eventually got in the Deadpool films. And now you're going to bring those two actors together. So how do we get these two guys in the MCU and make it make sense?
Unless it's all has to do with Loki and they crumbling in the multiverse, and the multiverse, everything lining up on top of each other, much like what they did in the comics with Battle Worlds, where all of a sudden all the universes just crashed on top of each other and everything was in one continuity. And then when it all split, the best parts of, say, the Ultimate Marvel Universe were stuck in the 616. They could do the same thing. Deadpool and the X-Men could have been somewhere else. And all of a sudden now they're in the MCU, which they're now considering the live action 616.
Yeah, I think it's the only way that they can do it, because if you were to just pull the mutants have just been hiding this whole time through all these world-ending catastrophes, then I don't know, it's weird, man.
Well,
it needs to be that they were in another universe and somehow something pulled them in here, and now they're either stuck or they'll be here for however long, and then.
I'm thinking too, because Deadpool has the Cable's time travel device, that you could easily set it up as the TVA show up, because he's already broken the rules of time by bringing his girlfriend back from the dead. That you could easily just pull him into the TVA and everything fractures, and next thing you know, mutants are in the MCU. But you can't have everything all stacked up because, like there was a lot of cataclysmic events happening in the Marvel or in the X-Men universe that should have been referenced in the MCU.
Yeah. So we're getting some folks online saying Doctor Strange cameo, which, I mean, it seems like that's Doctor Strange's role in the MCU these days. It's just to prop up other characters. Corey is saying an incursion, which I think is kind of what we're talking about. JS is saying, I agree. The timing with the multiverse saga seems perfect for what Ed is suggesting. And Art of the Con is saying it could set up Hugh to come back in Secret Invasion. JS is saying, what's up, everyone? Sorry he can't be there tonight. Well, they did mention mutants in Miss Marvel, says Ali Cosplay. Maybe they have been in our world and we don't know. I guess now that we're sort of in the multiverse saga, quote unquote, this is sort of it feels like it's the only time that we get to kind of do this. So they almost have to take advantage of the fact. But do we end up getting something more akin to like a Thor Ragnarok, where it almost feels like a soft reboot, where we just keep the one or two key characters that we want, and then we sort of jettison the rest? In Ragnarok, we lose the Warriors 3. We get no Sif. We lose Odin. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like we're just we love Thor and we love Loki and fuck everybody else. We're gonna introduce some new characters like the big rock dude and everything else.
Or
do you know
not
what I mean?
really.
Because we're not gonna do you think we're gonna get like Weasel and Vanessa and like Cable? Like, do we get the whole damn crew, or does Marvel just say no, we only want him and the rest of you can fuck off?
I think they might pull in specific characters, but I don't think that they're going to try and like bring in the specific versions of those characters or the specific cast characters that they've had in other movies to the MCU. So I think if they're doing a multiverse thing, like, you get Hugh Jackman because everyone's gonna blow their minds and just be very happy. But if you want to bring in other characters, like, because it's a multiverse, you can have whatever actor you want playing them. So you don't need to stick with like Fox timelines in order to have the same characters.
Ed?
Well, first off, when you mentioning Ragnarok, they didn't really say like F those characters. It's just a way to move on, cut certain.
Well, they killed 3 of them, so it feels a little bit like fuck those characters.
Well,
4 of them.
How much is? And don't get me wrong, I love Thor. Like, Thor is big for me. How much is the needle going to move with the Warriors 3? They can't progress much farther unless you delve right into a Warriors 3 story, which at times in the comics they did, but there's only so much. There's only 2 hours worth of space every couple of years on the big screen. So
sure. No, I understand.
Cut these guys out. Move on. So with it comes down to the X-Men, no, I don't think they're going to bring the full X-Men in and give them a full send-off.
Not the full X-Men, but at least the supporting characters from the Deadpool franchise.
Yeah.
Right? Do you get Dopinder? Do you get Colossus? Do you get Teenage Negasonic Warhead? Do you get Vanessa? Do you get Weasel? Like, it's not a microcosm.
No, I think
there's a lot of supporting characters, right?
I think probably a lot of those characters are, and it could be just as easy as Deadpool looking at him and say, bye Al, bye Weasel, bye Colossus, I'm going on an adventure with Logan, see ya.
Right.
And it would work just well because that's how the character is. Like with Deadpool, you could do basically whatever you want. Deadpool could look at the camera and say, hey, guess what, folks, this is a reboot and we're going to be in the MCU now, so these guys who've been with us on this journey, I'm going to leave them here and I'm going to go with Logan because that's really what you're here for.
Yeah,
and
it's
everyone would buy it.
The fourth wall breaking can obviously help them overcome. And again, like your point is, it's Deadpool. It doesn't really have to make sense because it's Deadpool. Like, they'll just be like in Deadpool 2 when you needed to have that when Deadpool went to the mansion. He's like, oh, it's only the same 2 X-Men that we always see. You think the studio would throw us a bone, and then there's a side view of an entire room of X-Men, but it's the first class cast. Which makes no sense timeline and continuity wise, but that's what you got anyways, because it's Deadpool. It doesn't matter. They did it for a sight gag. They were on screen for 4 seconds. It makes sense. Groot is saying that's a lot like fuck those characters. It really is. You could just not have them in the film. Killing them is really just like, not only do we not want to progress with these characters, we don't want these characters at all. Thor's
hey.
worthy cosplay saying maybe a few. Domino would be great. Zazie Beetz absolutely killed it as Domino.
How many times has
That'd be great.
Patrick Stewart died as Xavier on screen?
Well, I think we're up to at least 3 now.
Yeah.
We're
Right?
at 3 now, yeah.
Yeah.
And they
Although
still haven't-
again, the latest one was not the same. Anyways, it's
But they
so
still
great.
never
Still
they
Patrick
still
Stewart.
never explained how he died in 2 and came back in Last Stand. So
Yeah, I know. Yes, again, it's the Fox X-Men timeline. You can't spend
sorry.
a lot of time thinking about it.
Sorry,
'cause,
Days of Future Past. Sorry.
production value.
Yeah.
What? Sorry. Production value. What else is filming at the same time? But no, 100%. That's why they had the first class cast in there for sure. Groot is saying multiverse opened the doors for them to do basically anything they want, especially with Deadpool, because like Jeff said, it doesn't need to make sense. It does not. So I guess at the end of the day, the how is probably not super important, because at the end of the day, I think we can all agree this feels very fan servicey from a company that's really leaning heavily into fan service with the multiverse aspect of it.
Well,
you get No Way Home, you get all the cameos in I almost said Stranger Things, Doctor Strange, right? So I mean, it's a company that's already embracing the fan service, and I'm not someone that's against fan service. I'm a fan. Service me, like I'm cool with that. But does this come across as a little too fan servicey for you guys? Like, are they going to have to try to move mountains to make this work just to have these two guys in the same film together?
Nope.
I don't think that they need to justify it by a lot. As long as you have like a good plot point and they work it into what we've been seeing happening with like multiple timelines and multiple versions of the same character in different worlds or in different iterations, like you can work around it fairly easily, especially with Deadpool being able to like talk to us through the screen and explain where it's coming from.
I figure this is going to be the last Deadpool movie anyways, and so you might as well blow the load right now. Get her done.
Blow the load. Are you trying to goad Michael into making some sort of a comment with a comment to blow the load? Come on now.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Thor's worthy saying too many. Ali Cosplay saying maybe Wade finds Vanessa in another timeline. Remember, at the end of Deadpool 2, he did go back in time and save her. So technically, she's still there.
Yeah.
Keith Gare saying there's a meme suggesting Deadpool could be shown using a laptop and dragging an X-Men folder from a Fox folder to an MCU folder as a way to bring the mutants in. Absolutely. I think they have to caution themselves and not be too meta, right? Because it still has to have a broader appeal to mainstream audiences. Like they're going to have to get the joke, you know what I mean? Like they're going to have to understand sort of what's happening. Mutants always mutants, absolutely. Service, says Michael, and exactly, says Groot. Below the load, of course. Deadpool 3, below the load, official title reveal. Thanks, Jordan, appreciate it. Blowing, watch it just be a kid. Yeah, you've all just loaded. Yeah, it's all. Thanks, Ed. The whole chat is just blowing and loading right now. Awesome, great. Our good friend Robert Bellamy, good friend of the podcast, saying Deadpool will be road trip. Yeah, they make a road trip to the MCU. I'm absolutely fine with that. So you guys are okay with it not like as far like it's obviously fan service, but you guys are on board with it as far as it being fan service. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And again, you guys can weigh in on the chat as well if you feel the same way. Here's my big concern, and I'm going to throw this out to you guys too and see what you think. Obviously, these guys have probably the most celebrated bromance in Hollywood. I think that's a fairly safe thing to say. But so did Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan. And then they tried to make a show with those two guys. And love it or hate it, universally, like overall, Falcon and the Winter Soldier is not exactly like what it's considered to be like a top tier MCU entry, let alone like a Disney Plus series. So are we at all worried that because there's so many meta levels with this, and because Ryan Reynolds has already been playing up Hugh Jackman through the other two films, is it too meta? Is it too inside baseball, knowing these guys have such a huge friendship and bromance outside of this film? Like, is it going to take you out too many times because you're just going to know it's Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman fucking around on screen?
No.
I don't think so.
You can't be. So by the time the movie comes out, Hugh Jackman would be identified as a character for 24 years. When we see him on screen, he's Wolverine. There's a reason why they've never been able to recast anybody else as the character, because nobody else will be Hugh Jackman. Nobody else can play him as Wolverine.
Right, but this isn't going to be a straight up action X-Men movie. This is going to be a fourth wall comedy style film. So it's not like they're not going to play up the real life relationship these two have.
I think they might a little bit, but I don't think they'll do it as much as you're worried they will.
No,
well, they already have in the other two films. That's the only reason I'm worried that they'll do it in the third film as well, right?
Yeah, but Logan will be the straight man like how Cable was.
Yes.
Yep.
Agreed.
Cable is not goofing around and assing off in Deadpool 2. And I think Wolverine will be the same. Like Logan will be the same way. And mainly because even if you read the comic books, the comic book interactions between Deadpool and Wolverine is very, like he's a straight man and Deadpool's the goofball.
Agreed. So, with the understanding though that, like I said, it's I'm not worried about those two interacting as their characters. I'm more worried too much that I'm going to get pulled out because I'm going to keep associating with their real life interactions and bromance and friendship.
I don't know. That feels like a you problem.
It is a me. It's 100% a me problem. That's why I'm throwing it out to the channel. I want to see if anybody else is having. If it's just a me problem, I'm okay with that. I just keep being reminded of the how much chemistry Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan had outside of that show and how little they had in that show. And so moving forward, I'm always concerned with when they try to take two real life friends and then put them on a screen together, especially in something like this, when one of them is a straight man and one of them is the Joker. Like, is that still going to be able to come across?
Well, if any issues with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which I disagree with because I thought the show was awesome.
Well, yeah, but you would.
But also some of the issues in that has nothing to do with the chemistry between the characters or the actors.
Yeah, there wasn't any.
There was, but there was also a lot of clunkiness in that because it was a COVID production.
No, I know.
Like they had a storyline and they had to pull the plug because, oh no, we can't use this story. So they're trying to remash up another story so that they don't hit sensitive issues.
No, for sure. It was just, it was also super boring. Groot in London says, I'm hoping it's got a good story, not just a good, funny as hell movie. I hope it's a good balance of both. Ali is saying, no, I think it will help because they play the characters so well. It will not be the characters, not them. That's good. Corey is saying, I mean, we don't know what it is or what it isn't yet. Absolutely. It's all speculation at this point. No question. Wayne from Body Heroes. I haven't seen Wayne in a long time. Hey guys. Hey Wayne, how you doing? Straight and narrow. Now, and these guys are off at the races again. A me problem. The Messiah Complex Cosplay autobiography. That's not what my autobiography is going to be called. Let me tell you. Redo the Hulk versus Wolverine storyline, says Doug. That's not a terrible idea. You're right about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I think Deadpool and Wolverine is the you problem. Absolutely, Rob. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, I think we've established it's a me problem. 100%. Falcon and the Winter Soldier was meh. Thanks, Groot, for having my back on that.
No, that's a his problem and you problem.
I don't think Groot and I are the only two that had a problem with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's be fair.
From the point that you're trying to make about like the character chemistry, though, I almost feel like them not meshing well and them not being able to like have chemistry together was part of what they were trying to go. Like they were trying to show like the awkwardness and how these two don't know how to work together yet.
Well,
so
and
I feel
especially
like it was part of it. It was supposed to be kind of built in.
They also became friends because they were common friends of their friend who
is now dead.
Went off and got old and died. So they're kind of stuck with each other.
They don't have the connecting thread anymore.
Yeah, no, they were mutuals.
Yeah, you needed to like rebuild the relationship.
Are we still talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier? I fell asleep. Can we go back? I don't know.
No, we're just talking about how you take a friend out of the dynamic and then the other two friends have no idea how to deal with it when the main friend is gone.
Is that what it is?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you guys think it's going to work and it's just a me problem, then I will accept. It was a filler. Yeah, it was a filler. You're not wrong. It got us to a point where Anthony Mackie now is Captain America. We are getting Captain America 4 New World Order. He is starring in the role. Have there ever been bigger boots to fill?
Oh God, that's going to be.
Because I don't even know what would you even call it. I know this is a bit of a digression, guys, but would you even call it a recast at this point? Like, what would you? I guess technically it is.
Not really, because they're just moving. Like it's the same character. Like he's not playing Steve Rogers.
Right. but he is playing Captain America, so it's kind
It's
of
not
like,
it's not being recast. And in the comic books right now, because I picked up my stuff this morning, and now they're running 2 comic books. So it's like Steve Rogers Captain America and Sam Wilson Captain America.
Sam's been, Bucky's been, a couple of other guys, USA, like other people have been Captain. That's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, from strictly like for 3 movies and then solo movies and then a bunch of Avengers movies, it's been Chris Evans as Captain America, and now you're getting Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I know it's not officially a recast, but you're not going to see Chris Evans in this movie, and it's a Captain America movie. Yeah. How big of fucking shoes does this poor Anthony Mackie dude have to fill? Yeah. You're not he's just a dude, by the way. He's not even a super soldier. He's just a guy.
A dude.
And he's
dude.
He's Captain America. After what is arguably one of the most popular superheroes that never should have worked in a million years, by the way, but Chris Evans just murdered it. Man, could you imagine having to be Anthony Mackie and try to come into that shit? Ooh. No, thanks.
He's getting paid handsomely to try.
I need a beer with all this Falcon the Winter Soldier talk. I promise you we're moving off of it, Groot. Corey Carter, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Those are bigger boots. Yes. Okay. Yep. So let's talk about this from a mutant standpoint, from an X-Men standpoint. Yeah. Technically, Deadpool does take place in the X-Men universe. Yes. Technically, yes. He's a mutant. His mutation was activated. Healing factor, increased reflexes, yada, yada, yada. Wolverine is obviously like the prototypical mutant. So is this the soft introduction of mutants and the X-Men that really we've been kind of waiting for, that we haven't really gotten to see? I know mutants are mentioned on Ms. Marvel and the fact that she has a mutation, but no school, no Xavier, no nothing, just the barest sort of, we're going to mention the word and we're going to leave it at that. I know it's 2 years out, by the way, I'm not dumb, but everybody assumed that the X-Men would come after the multiverse saga, which is all the way at the end of phase 6. So we would be out even further than where we're going to be with Deadpool 3. Is this their way of bridging the gap and starting to introduce, in particular, not just mutants, but the X-Men with this film?
I think this is probably the only way you're going to get the mutants get the X-Men into the MCU before 2030. Like, I really think you're 8 years off before, you actually see the X-Men. So I think this is getting it quicker, because even like you look at Fantastic Four, we're not going to get the Fantastic Four still till 2025.
I think so.
Even though we've had Reed and they say that they're not going to use John Krasinski. So, the fact that we're still going to be 2025 before we see a Fantastic Four movie, I think this is the quickest way to fast track X-Men and Xavier into the MCU.
Jordan saying, I believe Namor will be the first mutant in the next Black Panthers. Technically the second, because again, Ms. Marvel is in fact a mutant. So technically the second. But yes, they have confirmed that Namor in Black Panther Wakanda Forever is a mutant. But I guess I'm trying to make the distinction, guys, between mutants and X-Men. We clearly are already seeing mutants and
they're seeing mutants.
No one has said X-Men on any level. Deadpool and especially Wolverine is the X-Men. He was such a popular X-Man that they gave him his own series trilogy of movies. So Ms. Marvel is Inhuman, not a mutant. Not on the show, she's not. On the show, she is a mutant. In the comics, she is an Inhuman.
Yeah.
And on the show, they actually went the complete opposite with her.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm going to correct you on everything, Ms. Marvel. You can, Ariana, but you need to watch the show. Maybe you haven't. I don't know. But they specifically say on the show that she is a mutant. So
and they're going to avoid Inhumans they're not going to touch Inhumans without a 10-foot pole.
Corey's saying, do you need to establish all the X-Men things in Earth 616 like the school? You don't necessarily have to establish all the things, but again, they've been careful not to use the word, right? Like as far as X-Men goes.
Yep.
But I don't know how you have Wolverine and not throw it about like something, anything. There's just not going to be like he's not going to wear the suit with the giant fucking X on it. What do you like? Ryan Reynolds isn't going to be doing some X-Force shit. Like, do we just let all that lie because they're not ready to start talking about the X-Men at this point? Do they pretend that really exists?
I could see there being like not necessarily a throwaway line, but like some sort of a comment from Deadpool to Wolverine at some point. But I don't know if they're going to bring in the other characters. I feel like it might get mentioned, but I don't think they're going to be like showing a lot of them.
You said about fan service. Yeah, how about the ultimate fan service? And he shows up in yellow and blue.
I mean, how badass would that be?
Like, you
'Cause
want
it's
to
got
talk
a
about
blue
blowing the
spandex.
load? There
That's
you
right.
go.
Oh, way to go. Why don't you, yeah. Thanks for doing that to the chat again, Ed. He's going to 100% do the X with the claws hands down. Yeah. The not concerned, but we're no longer playing in the Fox universe, and I'm sure they haven't just given Ryan Reynolds a blank check, especially like they did with X-Men 2, or I'm sorry, Deadpool 2. They are playing in the MCU, and they've got to take everything that they're going to do to Feige to make sure it's going to be okay.
Yep.
That might be the sticking point, right? They won't have the freedom that they had before. Feige might want to have a few cards left to play years down the road when it comes time to. I mean, I personally think Phase 10 should be Phase X with the X-Men, obviously, but
That makes sense.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
But-
long away.
I know
but
it's
that-
a long way away, but you're
but
doing
that
this for 2
takes you-
years. So what do? You did bring up something cool. By the way, I want to go back to Don't Wants. This had better be our Wolverine and our Deadpool. I don't want this to be like the Xavier that we got in Multiverse of Madness. This had better be our actual two guys from that universe. Don't fuck around and tell me these are, like the Xavier that we got in Multiverse of Madness, where it's kind of the same, but kind of not the same. It's got to be the two guys that we know and love already. Otherwise, what's the point?
Well, aren't they the same anyways, though?
I was going to say,
Well,
it needs to be
no.
at least the same Deadpool.
That Xavier was not our Xavier, right? So played by the same actor, but not that. It wasn't that Xavier, right?
But it's still the multiverse. They're still the same.
No, it's such a cop out. I don't want it. Take it back. I don't want it. It has to be our guys, especially. You know what? If you want to use a different Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, if I have to accept one of them, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you can't use a different version of Deadpool played by Ryan Reynolds.
I don't think it will be because it's the third version of his movie, and like they're still billing it as Deadpool 3.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be the same Deadpool.
Well, it's just that
or we riot.
If you look at Deadpool, you got Colossus in there, but it's clearly not the same Colossus that is Hugh Jackman's Colossus.
Right.
Yep.
Yes. Right. So
because they had the option to try to use the original actor, and they decided not to.
Right.
So
it's just a big CGI thing. So
yeah, so
that was always the tongue-in-cheek thing with Deadpool, right? Like it was taking place in the same universe, but it kind of wasn't taking place in the same universe, and he got away with that again, like we talked earlier, because it's a Deadpool movie, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't necessarily have to make sense, but I think that's how they can kind of, get away with this as far as that goes. Groot saying, "Oh man, I feel the same way, Jeff." Yeah, it better be our guys. Corey, what if the majority of it is in the Fox CU, then they bring it over like the end of Venom, Let There Be Carnage? I did think about that, Corey, and that's a good point. But in that little viral thing that Ryan Reynolds put out, he literally says our first movie in the MCU, and it literally says Marvel Studios over the Deadpool 3 logo. So I gotta think that, and with Marvel's distaste over using the Fox stuff in the first place, I gotta think it's good. They're gonna get into the MCU real fucking quick.
Yep.
Now, the key question here that Ed brought up earlier that we're going to get to in a minute, though, do they stay in the MCU? Or is it going to be more akin to Venom where they're there for whatever they need to do, and then at the end, almost like a John Krasinski or whatever, do we just have them for this in the MCU? And then, as Ed said, are we all done with Deadpool movies after this? And by the way, I understand the almighty dollar might be the biggest contributing factor as to whether or not there's going to be more.
Well,
do you approach it as though this is it?
I'm not saying it's the end of the X-Men in the MCU. I'm saying this could be the last Deadpool movie.
Deadpool. Remember, this is a Deadpool movie, not an X-Men movie, not even a technically like this is Deadpool 3, right?
Yes.
So
I think this could be the last chance we see Deadpool on screen.
Megan?
I mean, it could be. I suppose we don't know what the plot point would be. If it's not going to be something that kills him off or sends him to some other universe or something that we're not going to see him, then I could see him being a character in other like team up movies. Maybe it would be interesting to try and work the character in, but it could happen.
I mean, they are saying that they're still going to be doing an R-rated film, but they're also saying it's taking place in the MCU continuity.
Yeah.
If the movie makes a $1 million, do you try to put together a Deadpool 4, or do you do what Megan's suggesting, and do you incorporate him into a... There seems to be opportunities that you could have that would make beaucoup dollars, like a Deadpool Spider-Man team up that's been very popular in the comics, or a Deadpool Daredevil team, something where you would get two characters that would clearly play off well with each other if he's now able to play in the sandbox moving forward full time. Or do you think once this is done, this is a one and done and that's it? And if that's the case, then does that lessen some of the impact of this film in the first place if we just know that this is it, like this is the swan song and they just happen to be doing it in the MCU?
Well, even the last event, Endgame, was the last Avengers movie. It's not
just
until recent.
They just announced 2 more. What are you talking about?
Well, they did, but between 2018 and 2022, they said Feige said there would be no more Avengers movies.
Yeah, and did anybody on planet Earth buy what he was saying? Their last Avengers movie made $1 bajillion. Sorry, guys, we're not going to do that again. Okay, Kevin.
Well,
sure you
Again, if you don't have the story to lead up to it, you can't have it.
No, but we didn't think they were just going to fold up the tents and leave. Obviously, I mean, Phase 4 has not exactly been a massive rousing success, but we all know that it is leading to things. And yes, we've been confirmed recently that we're getting 2 more Avengers movies. I don't remember what they're called. The Kang Dynasty and the last one. Is it called the multi? No, the whole thing's called the Multiverse Saga. Whatever that other one is.
It is Kang Dynasty.
I know the ones. Yeah, the first one's the Kang Dynasty, and then whatever the other one is, which I guess kind of confirms that Kang is going to be sort of the big bad of that phase, right? So is this the last? So is this the swan song? Is this the last Deadpool film, and or is this the last we see of Deadpool?
Well, we're talking 2024. So if we see another Deadpool, it could be 2027.
Secret War, JS is saying, is the other Secret War is the other Avengers film.
Okay.
Yeah. Megan, what do you think? Is this the last we see of Wade Wilson?
I hate to make this answer, but I think it's going to depend on how it does financially.
Right.
Because they're going to keep making them if they can, and if they can keep getting Ryan Reynolds to do them, if it's going to make the money. And they're not going to throw it away. We'll be able to tell more once we figure out what the plot of this is. Depending the story that they go, it'll be either the end or it's just a jumping off point.
Because 2 years, I know everybody's complaining that it seems like such a long time to go, but I thought we would have to wait a much longer time before we were going to see this. 2 years doesn't seem like that far out. So
especially
if they wanted to keep using
still
him,
writing it.
Yeah. Well, they have a first draft, so they're redoing the drafts, which I mean, that's fine.
They're in pre-production. Things
yeah.
that are already filming are still more than 2 years away.
Well, and probably the draft has changed now that they got Hugh Jackman on board.
Groot is saying, hope not. He is funny as hell. And JS is saying, no way, this is the last one. I mean, ultimately, it's going to come down to Ryan Reynolds. And let's all remember this whole character, this whole movie franchise exists because of Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
From that leaked animated trailer he put out to the first film, a bit of passion project for his. It was for 10 years that it was a passion project for him.
Yeah.
Finally made it a reality. Huge hit. Deadpool 2 comes out, another big hit. So yeah, it has to come down to money and his willingness to continue on with the role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there specific...
Which I think if they keep it, if he can still keep a similar character to what he's already built, then I think he'll keep doing it because he seems to have a lot of fun with it.
Disney will do anything if it means money. True. Because it seems like now we're getting a case of one-upsmanship. You know what I mean? We brought in Toby and Andrew for No Way Home, and then we had all these crazy cameos in Multiverse of Madness. They must have been sitting in a room at Disney with Reynolds going, okay, what do we do to top that? What can we possibly do? And then Ryan calls his friend Hugh and is like, what size check do we have to cut you to be in this movie? And Hugh said, put another 0 on that. So it does it's starting to feel a little to me a little bit of, and that's what I was kind of worried when I talked about the fan service. It feels like they're kind of trying to one up themselves now. They're trying to outdo themselves. what's the next thing that we're going, because we have a lot of multiverse saga left, like a lot. And Secret War is that too. Secret War is like a multiverse war. It's characters from all different universes coming together to go to war and fight.
Yep.
So where does it stop? Like, where does it, is this the peak? Can we get bigger than Hugh Jackman returning as Wolverine? Do you know what I mean? Like, what would be your next fan servicey thing that you would want to see Marvel try to pull off MCU wise? Even if it ended up being a cameo, what would you like to see?
Sorry. I would love to see them bring in like the X-Men First Class cast as the X-Men. I know they're not going to, but I want it.
Fair.
If you really want to go full fan servicey and give everything anybody wants, if Secret War was Nick Cage showing up as Ghost Rider, Ben Affleck showing up as Daredevil, Ed Norton showing up as the Hulk, like fine, bring everybody in. Wesley Snipes shows up as Blade.
That's Jimmy on Facebook said the same thing. Bring back Wesley Snipes Blade. Could not agree more. Quick note, by the way, the Blade movie just lost its director, so they're shopping that out right now. I guess it was some type of a scheduling conflict type of thing. So bring them all for Secret War. Is that what you're saying? Anybody that's ever been in a Marvel movie of any kind, we're going to try to ship them in there.
Empty the toy box into the arena and last man standing or last person standing. Hell,
God, that's awful.
Since the load is still there and it's still half full, bring back Chris Evans as Captain America.
Fan service is not a bad thing as long as it's what the majority want. Well, that's talking about Evans. That's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier. Is if it's fan service just for the sake of fan service, then I don't want to see Chris Evans back. I don't want to see RDJ back. I would want them to be in something that was a meaningful role for. And I don't think you would get RDJ back. Jen, what's going on? I don't think you would get RDJ back regardless. I know Evans has said for the right story he would come back, but what's I think that's a pretty canned answer. Like, what's the right story?
Well, and I think too, Endgame was the perfect Endgame for them.
Yeah,
like when RDJ can finish it with one of the best lines and just done. Same with Chris Evans as Cap, being able to grow old and hey, why? Your story's done. Yeah. There's nothing else to tell for you.
Well, I remember seeing an interview with RDJ. I think he was on Rogan or whatever, and Rogan asked him flat out, like, what would it take? And RDJ was like, what would I do? Like, I left.
Like, how do I make it better than this?
Yeah. So I think of the two of them, I think it would make more sense to have Evans back as opposed to RDJ back. And I think you'd probably have a better shot of getting Evans back than you would at getting RDJ back. Now, like going back to
actually get frickin' Scarlett Johansson to do more Widow stuff now that the character is more fully developed and she had her own movie.
Bring in Spawn, says jokes on quotes. That, I mean, not even the same universe, but I would be down for that. Miley and I are going through the Blade movies now. Yeah, don't watch the third one if you can help it. Why not go ham? You can kill whoever then. I mean, sure. A lot of those guys that we ran off, though, are like Ed Norton, Ben Affleck. Those are big time movie act. Like it'd probably be pretty hard to bring them in. I'm on set right now, but we're in between shooting Southern Notifications, coming in to say hi, hello. And Shaw Cosplay just joined. Hey, guys. I don't know. I would certainly, I'm with you guys 100%. Is if you're going to be fan servicing me, you better be like fan servicing the shit out of me. Just bring anybody back that you can, which seems to be kind of what they're doing. Although I did like to swerve with Reed Richards and bringing in John Krasinski, because that was fan service like of a different kind, because he had been a fan cast
all the fan casting
for years and years and years. Yeah. But I think, Ed, were you saying that they've pretty much confirmed that we're not going to get Krasinski as Reed Richards moving forward?
That's what they're saying. Yeah. But again, same thing. We're 2025 before we get a movie. So you get John Kay, you put 3 years on him, and then you put 10 years past that of sequels and all that kind of stuff. Like, then you've got guys getting up into their 50s. So probably better off getting somebody in their late 20s to play the character.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That
I
wouldn't
know.
match for the character though. Like, isn't Reed Richards supposed to have like a doctorate and tons of different stuff? Like, he should be
Yeah.
old enough to at least have these credentials.
Yeah, he was sort of always in his 30s at the even in the
Yeah.
beginning of the comics, he was kind of in his 30s. Sue was younger because like he lived in their boarding house. So Sue was younger, Johnny was younger than her, and then Ben was sort of in the middle. So Reed was always kind of the elder statesman of the family.
Groot is saying, "What about Jessica Alba? That's the young crush in me wanting her back." I could not agree more with you, sir. You have that opportunity too. It's bring back Coulson. Another good idea. I don't know. I didn't get all the way through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., so I don't know kind of where. Although I guess the last of it was not taking place in canon. I've recently read that initially it started out in canon, and then the last of it was not in canon.
After season 2, it was happening in its own thing. But that was a Marvel TV, Marvel movie pissing contest.
Yeah. So, but Coulson has appeared in the regular continuity. So yes, bringing back Coulson would be cool. Obviously, definitely a missed opportunity to have Chris Evans facing each other as Cap and the Human Torch. I think that would have been a fantastic thing to have as far as a cameo type thing goes in like a Secret War or whatever. Even if you were to do it digitally at this point, I don't know if Evans would sign off on something like that, but it would be nice to have just a freeze frame of Cap facing off against, or at least just going nose to nose with Chris Evans and having them like bip at each other and realize that they're actually the same guy. Because it's interesting how they handle the multiverse stuff, right? Like every Doctor Strange looks like Wimbledon tennis match or whatever his name is, but every Spider-Man is a completely different looking dude.
Yep.
Yeah.
I heard some theories as to how far out you are from the originating universe as to how different you look, but that doesn't seem to be across all the different stuff.
Well, look at Loki. How many different Lokis? How different all the Lokis look from each other.
One of them's a goddamn alligator.
Although there are some. There's I think 3 in the recent one from the TV show that were all Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. With the president, with the that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, one of them was a girl. One of them was a lizard or whatever crocodiles are. One of them was a kid. One of them was an African American. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just funny how they don't really kind of play by their own same rules across. But it is cool to see different versions of a character played by the same guy, obviously, with Doctor Strange and such. So, Crocoloki, yeah. Croaky is what I heard him referred to a lot as far as that goes. Yeah, good old Croaky. So, so we get Deadpool 3. We get it in 2 years. I know for some that seems like a long way, but for the rest of us, I think that's pretty good. I just want it to be good, like a lot of you guys have said. I am still struggling. It's just me. That's fine. It's just me. I get it. I am worried. I am worried that they're having to play in the MCU sandbox now, and it's going to maybe jeopardize the looseness, the free flowingness that they used to be able to have. Because Fox didn't give a shit about continuity, right? So
no, for sure. Like there's going to be rules and like guidelines that they need to work within. But I'd like to think that Ryan Reynolds has enough of a grasp on the character, and they're going to have enough people from the MCU and working that have done other MCU movies to sort of work together and work something out that will mesh well into the sort of universe of film and character that has been created, but also stay true to Deadpool. At least I hope so.
It seems like such a monumental task, does it not, though? You've got to find a way to bring Wolverine back, and then you've got to find a way to bring both of them into the MCU, and then you've got to figure out if you're going to keep them there or if you're going to have them, like, you're saying it's in the MCU. That's great. Does that mean they're going to be interacting with other people in the MCU? Like, we can say, just sprinkle some magic dust on and going, yes, this is taking place in the MCU. But if there's no outward appearance that it is, do you know what I mean?
I mean, you might get like a cameo or 2, I can see, but like even when each individual character now has an MCU movie, like they interact with maybe 1 or 2 like other main MCU characters that aren't in their immediate movie.
Well, granted, but these guys are literally coming from an entirely different universe. So how do we make it so that the audience gets the fact that these guys they're not from here?
Well, even as like quickly as referencing back to like the blip or something. Like that's all you need to do, and then it's like, oh, yep, it's this.
Well, look at the Eternals. The Eternals takes place in the MCU, and if it wasn't for the mention of Thanos and Captain America, you wouldn't even know it was an MCU movie.
Yes, granted.
And
there's oblique references. You're right.
Yeah, but it doesn't
specifically. But yes, but again, they're not coming from a different. Like, these are already established characters in a completely different universe. So, like I said, not only do you have to figure out how to bring these two guys together, but then you got to figure out how to get them over there and have it make sense and have the audience key in.
They just need to do the tradition that they're establishing of just like have Wong in it for like 5 minutes and then you're good.
Oh, the Wong. The Phase 4, Wong is holding together. He's got that's I've seen stuff where it's just the entire Phase 4 is just on Wong's back as he's just carrying it around.
Well, much like Iron Man, how Iron Man tied it in the beginning in Phase 1.
So is Wong the new Iron Man? Is that what we're saying?
Well,
Wong's
yeah. Well,
yes.
When Tony shows up at the end of Incredible Hulk and says, "Hey, we're putting a team together," it's.
So do we want to see like a nice little cameo from Wong? The beginning of Deadpool 3, like, I brought you both here for a reason, and then he just fucks off and leaves, and then they just kind of look at each other like, well, I guess we're here, we'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, there you go too. Something happens up, and
know what's happening.
Hey man, I'm so here for it. I absolutely adore Wong, so that would be fantastic.
And then Madison would be there and be Wongers. We got to go watch our show.
Well, I mean,
two N's and one Y, and not where you expect it.
Two Wongs do make it right. Yeah. Maybe it's like Venom where he left a piece of himself behind when he was sucked back into his universe. Absolutely. They have one job, better do it well. Yes, no, agreed. They've really got to nail this one, I feel. So Wong is funny. I love him. Even in She-Hulk, he nails it. Yeah, I haven't watched any of She-Hulk, but I have heard good things as far as Wong's appearances go. So yeah, he's been great in literally everything. He was easily my favorite part of Doctor Strange 2. So he was great in No Way Home. Yeah, I mean, it's Wong, man. You're invited to my wedding. So we've been on for an hour, guys. We are going to start wrapping her up. I think we've pretty much beat this. Yeah, the hour just flies when we're talking about crazy Deadpool and Wolverine stuff. Is there anything you guys want to leave us with as far as your thoughts on the announcement, what's coming, how it's going to look? Anything you guys want to leave us with as far as your thoughts on this goes?
I'm thinking that they're not done. They'll probably give us lots of little viral things over the next 2 years to keep the appetite wet. So yeah, they'll just they'll show up and here and there. I think that it works for them and it costs them nothing to do it. Just he sits there with his iPhone and records it, and there you go, breaks the internet. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we get like 2 little like couch chatting videos every year or so.
Yeah, he's the king of viral marketing. I don't know how anybody could even suggest otherwise. Like I said, he has a gin I will never try that I can recognize the bottle just from seeing it. He has a soccer team. I've never watched an entire soccer or footy game in my life. And he has a cell phone company that not only is not available in Canada, but won't be available in Canada. So, but I already know what it is and what it's called and everything else. So, yeah, the dude knows how to put together a viral market. And who else comes with the balls, comes out and says, hey, guys, in 2 years, we're going to do this. Yeah. And has everybody on the internet losing their minds. Yeah. So, bravo. Anything else, guys, you want to leave us with? We're good, guys. I think we're gonna wrap it up here. It's been an hour. He has a marketing firm too. I'm sure he does, but you can see that he's the face of it, and he does a very good job with it. So we're gonna leave it off here. So thanks for joining us once again. Sorry again that JS could not join us today. So again, please send him your well wishes that he gets better real soon. Hopefully we're gonna see him back again next week. I will say the same thing I say at the end of every podcast. If you have an idea or you would like to be on the podcast, please throw myself, the Geeks and Co channel, or JS a message, and we would love to have you on, or we would love to talk about whatever it is you're going to talk about. Also, guys, we are looking to try to monetize the YouTube channel as quickly as we possibly can. We do need more subs. Doesn't even matter if you never watch a video on YouTube that we put out. If you just go over to YouTube and subscribe, that's going to help us out tremendously. So please get on over there. And if you've already done that, that's great. Tell your friends to get over there and just hit the subscribe button. It's going to help us out tremendously. Otherwise, like I said, we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you, Megan and Ed, for stepping in today and joining me without JS saying thanks, brother. No, thank you, sir. Feel better. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. And otherwise, I will see you guys here next week, next Thursday. Live long and prosper, bitches.
X-Force.
X-Force. That's right.